With us now, Paul Mauro, Fox News contributor and former NYPD inspector, and Josh Ritter, Fox News contributor, criminal defense attorney, who's been with us both with such great analysis over the last week. Paul, it's hard to believe we're here a week later. This deadline hit. Nothing in that Bitcoin wallet. What are you thinking right now?
Well, let's look at what we see in the latest video. I don't read anything into the fact that her siblings are not with her this time. It looks to me like this is the first spontaneous video that we've gotten. I would argue that this one likely not coached by the FBI, unlike what we saw in the past. It looks to me like an air of desperation, as we've all seen, but not only related to how the Guthrie family must feel, which we all understand to the extent that we can, being outside of it, but the fact that she's not encouraged, let's say, by what she's getting from the task force. She repeatedly says, we need your help. It's a plea to move this thing forward somehow. And I also would argue that there is something here that you could read as validating at least one of the notes. Why? Because she says we are entering an hour of desperation. That seems to me to be pinned to the deadline that we know just passed. And so she felt that looming deadline. And so as a result, she felt like, I need to put a last-minute plea before we hit that deadline. And that would argue then that the Bitcoin wallet that had originally been presented to them is the one that was in play. And as we all know, last reporting is that one was empty.
Josh, to that point, if indeed Savannah Guthrie is likely frustrated that, as hard as authorities are working, no real breaks in this case, after interviewing everybody nearby, everybody involved, presumably whoever it was who drove her home, and there's not real clarity, I don't believe, on that fact, that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos came under a lot of fire over the weekend. He was seen at a college basketball game Saturday night, despite the fact that the search continues. Your thoughts on that, given the other criticism that he has been subject to since this began? Obviously, he has a personal life still, but your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of criticism, and some of that deservedly so. Certainly the optics on being at a basketball game while this is all going on, as she even said, Savannah, in her statement, that this is a living nightmare for them. So not a good look for the Sheriff's Department. And here we are, day 9. We are minutes past that second deadline, and it doesn't appear as though we're any closer to finding a suspect or person of interest than we were last Sunday, which is really remarkable. And so you can see that desperation. In fact, she uses that word in her statement coming through from Savannah's statement. I agree a lot with the points that Paul makes about this statement. First of all, she's not speaking for the first time to her mother's captors. She's speaking to the public. In fact, she doesn't even reference them at all in that statement. And her choice of language is not as carefully curated as we saw in previous statements. In fact, in previous statements, she was holding a piece of paper in front of her and almost reading directly from it because it was scripted, we believe, probably by federal agents. Here, she's speaking extemporaneously from the heart. And it seems as though the subtext of all of that is that she's not really concerned about how her mother's captors are going to be receiving this, that this message is to the public, and that they are desperate to just get any answers.
Paul, they went back and they interviewed neighbors, we understand, for a second time. Then there was the issue with the car. That was a car of interest that went to that Circle K gas station, so they went there. Then they went and looked at the septic system. They took that item off the roof. Went back in the home, removed the vehicle, removed apparently other items from the home as well. It seems like extremely chaotic, but is there a method to the sort of flurry of activity on Friday and Saturday?
Well, the task force has enlarged physically. They've got more bodies now. They pulled in some people from surrounding jurisdictions, and we know the FBI has augmented their numbers as well as other federal agencies. So now you can send people out on the thinnest of leads The septic system, you know, look, they may be thinking that maybe the manhole was a little bit exposed and somebody could have thrown something down there. There were maybe tool marks where the ring camera was removed, and so they're looking for something relative to that. There's also the possibility of something that was flushed away. There are cases where the drain actually provides DNA that somebody tried to wipe off. I think in the Koberger case, in fact, they took the drain. It ended up being, you know, a dead end. But you are going down every path very clearly. They're going down every possible path. And that's why I cautioned a little bit against the fact that, okay, they were taking these photographs in the house in the dark the other night at the home of the sister and brother-in-law. Yeah, they're doing that, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily suspects or something. They're just ruling everything out. And look, let's be frank. Task force members, they read the papers and hear things as well. And the last thing they want to be accused of is not looking at something that maybe they should have later. So they are really buttoning up everything they can. And if nothing else, they're doing it to wash them out as suspects, to say we ran all the traps on that. We really don't see them in the frame here, and we can concentrate our fire elsewhere. I go back to the idea that they're just pulling at absolutely everything they have. They have the manpower. Personally, I feel like ultimately when we get a solve, and I do think we'll get a solve on this, it's going to come down to a data thing, something that they pull out of the digital world. And it may take some time for that because that analysis takes a good long while.
Josh, why do we not know definitively who drove Nancy Guthrie home? Is that a dumb question I'm asking? But it seems like
no.
That's just a fact, right? It's not an accusation. It's just a fact. But it seems like it might have been the son-in-law, but we're not really sure, or two people, or what was it?
No, it's not a bad question at all. It's an excellent question, and it's part of the ongoing problems with the messaging coming from law enforcement in this case. Initially, the sheriff did say it was the son-in-law that drove her home. And then in later press conferences, he took a step back from that and then used this kind of vague term of a family member. They know, obviously, who it was that drove her home, but for whatever reason, they're using this guarded language and not sharing that with us. And I think this is kind of an overall problem with the messaging, especially coming from the sheriff's department, that there was kind of this flood of information at first. Some of that they'd have had to walk back. Some of that they've had to correct. And now we've gone into this period where we're not getting any information. Here we are, minutes past the deadline, and there's been no press conference today. Now, I realize they don't owe that to us, but in a phase now where even Savannah Guthrie is turning to the public and saying, we need your help, you would think they would start sharing some more information with the public and tell us exactly what is the status of this case. In particular, has a ransom been paid?
I didn't think a lot of us probably thought a week was going to go by with so little information. But Paul and Josh, both of you, thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.